Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, a daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and tonight our focus is on the 10th anniversary of the right to information. Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking about it, Arun Jaitley, the Finance Minister talking about it. But what really is the status of RTI in the country? We'll be talking about that to Nikhil Dey as well. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, emphasizes the need to bring openness in governance. A jolt for the government as the Supreme Court declares the National Judicial Appointment Commission unconstitutional. 4:1 majority verdict of Constitution Bench seeks revival of the collegium system of appointing judges. Voters cast the ballots in Maoist-affected areas of Bihar. Second phase of elections records over 55% of voting. The European Union agrees to join the plan with Turkey to check the inflow of migrants into Europe, accepts its demands to fast-track its proposal to join the bloc. Well, a top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stressed upon the need to bring openness in governance in order to help citizens. Addressing the 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, he also termed the RTI Act as an effective tool to build trust between the government and the common man.
सत्ता को क्वेश्चन करने का भी अधिकार हो और यही लोकतंत्र की बुनियाद है और हम उस दिशा में जितनी तेज गति से काम करेंगे उतना लोकतंत्र के प्रति लोगों का विश्वास और बढ़ेगा.
Denying the need for secrecy in today's world and promoting a more open style of governance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that citizens and the government must have faith in each other. Addressing the 10th anniversary of the Central Information Commission, the Prime Minister also asked government officials to reduce errors in governance with the help of RTI.
ये सारा कम्युनिकेशन जो है, इंफॉर्मेशन एक्सेस करने की जो प्रक्रिया है, वो एक तो ट्रांसपेरेंट होनी चाहिए, टाइमली होनी चाहिए एंड ट्रबल फ्री होनी चाहिए.
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the RTI Act will become mature with the passage of time, even as the debate over its effectiveness continues.
Where do we then draw the line between public conduct and privacy of an individual? Those who administer this act will have to exercise that discretion itself adequately. Where is it that information is being used for empowerment, to avoid harassment, for the benefit of the small man, or is it merely being used by some busybodies for collateral purposes? I think this is a never-ending debate which will have to carry on.
RTI activists present at the occasion in turn expressed hope that the government would come good on its promise.
We haven't in these 16 months seen any action. We saw words before the government came in, we saw words today, we've heard words today. We hope to see action.
It's been a decade since the RTI Act came into effect. Every year, almost 80 lakh people use the Act to seek information from various government departments. Vishal Daya's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And RTI activist Nikhil Dey is with us in the studio. Nikhil, as we commemorate the RTI and its effectiveness, the fact that it has been a real game changer as far as power to the common man is concerned. But in 2015, on this day, how strong is it?
The Act itself is as strong as it was on the day it was born, because no amendments have been allowed in the Act. But the implementation of the Act leaves much to be desired. There are many, many ways in which now government and public information officers are finding ways in which they don't give information to people, they delay it, they give half information, they give wrong information. And the commissions who are supposed to adjudicate on this and levy penalties, which no other act in the country really has and which has made the Act effective, are besought with huge numbers of delays. So we don't have enough information commissioners appointed. We have manipulation in their appointment, and we have huge delays taking place with no accountability of those commissions. These are the questions that one set of questions that the RTI users need to face. On the other hand, the people are really taken to the act and seen it as a people's law. It's estimated there are about 5 to 8 million users a year of this law,
Right.
which means that the whole of government somewhere is being questioned, just what the Prime Minister talked about. What is needed is the government's response. The government saying we'll put information out in the public domain, proactively put it out so people don't have to use the law that much.
Right.
Busybodies actually will get completely neutralized if the government were to proactively put out information.
Right, because that is what Finance Minister Arun Jaitley was also alluding to, the debate that he said of somebody using this for other purposes, rather to create hurdles in terms of governance. And that is what has often been the political side argument or the bureaucracy's argument also as far as implementation and what comes under the ambit of the RTI itself.
Yeah, that's been an allegation made against this act a lot. Undoubtedly, there are some blackmailers, there are some people who misuse the act. I think they are blown out of proportion. But there is a great way to deal with it. If the government, there is a section 4 of this act, proactive disclosure, which has hardly been used at all. There have been 16 months of this government in power. Great words have been spoken today, both by the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. But actually, in these 16 months, we could have seen a huge sweep of proactive disclosure, which would have meant blackmailers can only work with exclusive information. If it's out there in the public domain, who can harass any officer? Because it's out there and people can just access whatever they want. So there are ways and means in which these can be dealt with. There are a whole second generation of reforms that need to come in. The Lokpal bill has still not been made operational. The whistleblower protection bill, 45 RTI users have been killed. And we are still struggling with being able to protect them.
And that's a very important, pertinent point that you raise over there about the safety and security of the RTI users themselves, of the fact that you mentioned 45 people have been killed who have been RTI activists. So in that sense, I mean, this also goes to show the effectiveness of this law itself.
Absolutely. It is a game changer law. It has changed the relationship of the citizens with the state. It has, as the Prime Minister said, led people to question, led people to demand answers, and led people to say, we will participate in governance without asking for a pie in return, actually coming forth as concerned citizens, coming forth as active citizens. Here is a law that's a great opportunity for any government in power. Here is a way and means by which government can say every question must be answered. And in every way possible that we see that this law offers, it is a chance to make efficient government, much better government, and much more accountable government.
All right, Nikhil, we'll leave it over there. But thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand the present status of the RTI as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the right to information. Now, moving on, the Supreme Court today quashed the constitutional amendment and the law for setting up the National Judicial Appointments Commission. The government and other political parties reacted with surprise to the unexpected development. The 5-judge Constitution bench held that both the 99th Amendment Act and the consequent NJAC Act were bad in law. In fact, it also ordered the revival of the collegium system, which was being sought to be replaced by the NJAC.
Unconstitutional was the word the Supreme Court used to describe the proposed National Judicial Appointments Commission. The court struck down the 99th constitutional amendment that the Modi government brought to scrap the old collegium system of selecting judges. The 4:1 majority verdict also rejected the central government's petition that petitions challenging the NJAC Act could be referred to a larger bench.
The court has held that this National Judicial Appointments Commission, in which the government would get a substantial say in judicial appointments, interferes with the independence of the judiciary and therefore has been declared to be unconstitutional.
The government argued that the NJAC was a more transparent system since it included the law minister, 2 eminent persons selected by the government, the leader of the opposition, Chief Justice and 3 senior judges. Law Minister Sadanand Gowda said he was surprised by the court's ruling.
I have to discuss with my law officers and I should discuss with my senior cabinet colleagues and the Prime Minister. Then we will decide what next step that we need to take.
Former Union Minister Salman Khurshid said the judiciary and parliament needed to hold a dialogue to reach a common point on the issue.
This indicates is that there is need for a larger conversation and dialogue between the judiciary and parliament How that is to happen, when it can be done, in which manner it can be done, that is for the government and for Parliament to reflect upon. But this is a clear indication that two very important wings of government, which believes in separation of powers, have sought a conversation. Just unilateral actions may not be enough. There has to be collective bilateral action.
The NGAC Act and the Constitutional Amendment Act came into force from 13th of April this year. The Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association filed a petition challenging the new legislation.
हमने चैलेंज किया था कि जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की अमेंडमेंट हुई है और 99th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट और जो नेशनल जुडिशियल अपॉइंटमेंट कमीशन एक्ट बना, ये इस बेसिस पे बना कि जो पहले कोलिजियम सिस्टम काम कर रहा था शायद वो इतना परफेक्ट नहीं था. तो चलो मान लो अगर परफेक्ट नहीं था तो कुछ उसी में कुछ प्रावधान ऐसे किए जाएं कि उसको और थोड़ा ब्रॉडर बनाया जाए, ज़्यादा ऑब्जेक्टिव बनाया जाए, ज़्यादा ट्रांसपेरेंट बनाया जाए.
The centre defended the new law, saying the two-decade-old collegium system where judges appointed judges was not free from defects. Besides Parliament, it was supported by the Supreme Court Bar Association and 20 state governments. The collegium system was created by two Supreme Court judgments in 1990s. Accordingly, a body of senior judges headed by the Chief Justice of India selects persons and recommends their names for appointment as judges. The Apex Court has now scheduled 3rd November for further hearing to improve the collegium system. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the reactions, of course, poured in for this big story. So let's listen into some of them.
जब हम जुडिशरी के इंडिपेंडेंस का पूरा सम्मान करते हैं तो जुडिशरी के साथ कोई कॉन्फ्रंटेशन का हम विचार नहीं रखते.
I really am a bit disappointed. I don't agree with the judgment. I feel that to say that in the commission the presence of the law minister is affecting the independence of the judiciary is not correct. If there was any difficulty in its working, that could be overcome.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट को स्वतंत्र रखना ये हमारा सबका संवैधानिक दायित्व है, चाहे गवर्नमेंट हो चाहे लेजिस्लेचर हो. जुडिशरी को तो सर्वथा इंडिपेंडेंट रहना पड़ेगा और रखना चाहिए.
I respect the verdict of the court, but I don't hail the verdict. According to me, the verdict is flawed. The verdict has ignored the unanimous will of Parliament and the will of more than half the state legislatures.
On to the news from Bihar, where 55% of the electorate today voted in the second phase of the assembly elections there. The polls took place in 32 seats in 6 Maoist-affected districts in the state. Now, voters defied the Maoists and stood in long-winding queues. Soon after polling ended, Umesh Sinha of the Election Commission addressed the media. Here's what happened through the day.
कुल प्रतिशत देखें तो इस फेज़ के लिए ये लगभग 55% रहा, जो पिछली बार 52.03% था. यदि इसको हम कुल चुनाव में अभी तक यदि परसेंटेज देखें तो 55% से ये पहले दूसरे फेज़ तक का मिला के अभी प्रतिशत रहा है. और अभी इसमें इसके जो फाइनल फिगर्स हैं वो इसके बाद प्राप्त हो जाएंगे थोड़े देर के बाद.
Voting for the second phase of elections in Bihar began at 7 a.m. in the morning. The fate of 456 candidates in 32 constituencies spread over 6 districts was sealed earlier. The districts that went to polls are Kaimur, Rohtash, Arwal, Jahanabad, Aurangabad and Gaya.
हम लोग सोच रहे हैं कि देश का विकास हो, देश आगे बढ़े, भ्रष्टाचार मिटे यहाँ का.
अपने मन से मतदान दें, किसी के प्रेशर में मतदान नहीं दें, विकास का मतदान दें.
का मुद्दा है विकास ही होना. विकास होने का मतलब देश का विकास, मतलब हमारा विकास.
The second phase of polling constituted a great challenge for the security personnel as the 6 districts are heavily affected by Naxalism. In view of the security concerns, voting time was curtailed by 1 hour and 2 hours in as many as 23 constituencies.
पूरी तरह से शांतिपूर्ण है. स्वच्छता के बिंदु पे भी आप जो वोटर्स खड़े हैं, जो टर्नआउट हो रहा है, उससे भी एहसास हो रहा है कि लोग अपने घरों से निकल के बिल्कुल उत्सवी जो माहौल एक होता है मतदाताओं का, वो चेहरे से भी पता चलता है, उनके हाव भाव से भी. तो वो सारी जगह से जो सूचनाएं आ रही हैं अभी तक पूरी तरह से शांतिपूर्ण है.
A total of 86,13,870 voters were eligible for the second phase of polling. There are 456 candidates in the fray, 32 out of whom are women. total of 9,119 polling stations were used for polling. 993 companies of the Central Paramilitary Forces and the State Police were deployed on the day to ensure peaceful voting. As many as 334 companies were in service in Gaya, 201 in Rohtash and 193 in Aurangabad. There were several big wigs in the fray in the second phase. One among them, the former Chief Minister Jitan Ram Manjhi, who was contesting from 2 seats. He was seen at a polling station casting his vote.
हार का तो कोई सवाल कहीं नहीं उठ रहा है। जीतन का मतलब ही है जीत, इसलिए वो दोनों सीट से हम लोग जीतेंगे। मार्जिन कहाँ ज़्यादा होता है, कहाँ कम होता है, वो अलग बात है, लेकिन सीट निकलेगी, दोनों सीट जीतेंगे।
Other political parties too were upbeat about their chances.
हम स्वीप करेंगे और उसमें बड़ा योगदान बीजेपी का है। पूरी सरकार यहाँ उन्होंने कैंपेन में डाली और प्रधानमंत्री जो है वो गली गली डगर डगर नगर नगर जो घूमे हैं तो लोगों को लग गया क्या है ये भारत के सारे देश के कई सूबों में चुनाव हुए ऐसा कभी हुआ नहीं है तो लोगों को सचेत कर दिया उन सचेत लोगों को हम लोग समझा रहे हैं।
मुझे लगता है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी एनडीए की सरकार शासन में आएगी ये पूरे संकेत पूरे बड़े अक्षरों में दीवालों पर लिखा है। एक बिहार में वातावरण बदल चुका है, लहर की स्थिति है और 50 साल के शासनकाल 25 साल कांग्रेस का 15 साल लालू यादव का 5-10 साल नीतीश कुमार का अब वो कार्यकाल समाप्त करके
The elections in the state are being conducted in 5 phases. With 2 phases completed, the next phase will be held on the 28th of October, followed by the 4th phase on November 1st and the 5th phase on November 5th. Counting will take place on November 8th. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Time for us to take a very quick break right now. On the other side, there's relief for former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh in a coal scam case. Details of that on the other side.
Political slugfest intensifies in Bihar. Regional leaders fight a do-or-die battle. Who wins Bihar and who loses relevance? Watch Verdict 2015 on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, a mob reportedly has lynched a man on suspicion that he was smuggling cows in Himachal Pradesh. The police detained 4 of his accomplices with the help of local police after nearly 4 hours of chase in the Sirmaur district forest.
जो ये तस्करी करके ले जा रहे थे उसमें हमने जो है काउ स्लॉटर एक्ट के तहत मुकदमा दर्ज किया है और जो ये जिसमें इस युवक की मृत्यु हुई है जो कि इसी तस्कर ग्रुप में था उसमें हमने उसके रिश्तेदार के बयान पर 302 यानी मर्डर का मुकदमा दर्ज किया है।
Meanwhile, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar was caught on the wrong foot today while giving an interview to a national daily, saying that Muslims must give up eating beef to continue living in India. Khattar added fuel to a fire that is already raging over the issue. In fact, however, later he denied making the statement.
मेरे भाव को मेरे शब्दों को गलत ढंग से तोड़ मरोड़ करके मैं समझता हूँ कहा गया है।
Making a complete U-turn, Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar has taken a step back on the beef issue. Khattar quoted controversy earlier when he said that the Muslim community should stop consuming beef if they want to continue living in India. He now says his words were distorted. As the remarks sparked outrage, BJP dissociated itself from Khattar's views, calling them wrong. The party also asserted that this was not its stand.
यानी रोज कोई ना कोई कहीं ना कहीं से बयान देते जैसे खट्टर कह रहा कि पाकिस्तान चले जाओ मांस यानी आप नॉर्थ ईस्ट का क्या करोगे हटा दोगे उसको यानी देश की एकता जो है वो इतने अंतर्विरोधों से भरा हुआ देश है ये, इसमें कोई एक तरह का समाज है ही नहीं। ये कोई यूरोप नहीं है, ये कोई चीन नहीं है, ये भारत है।
मुख्यमंत्री का ये बयान कि रह सकते हैं वरना देश को छोड़ दें, ये बयान संविधान के खिलाफ है और इस बयान के बाद मुख्यमंत्री को मुख्यमंत्री बने रहने का कोई हक नहीं है।
ये तो केवल एक सेंसिटिव मुद्दा है। क्या इस मुद्दे में जो है मुसलमानों के लिए कंपलसरी और दूसरों के लिए ऑप्शन किया गया है, जबकि बहुत ज़्यादा अधिक मात्रा के अंदर मुसलमानों से ज़्यादा हमारे दूसरे भाई हैं जो कि बीफ खाते हैं। इसलिए उनका एक बयान जो है हमारे देश की एकता और अखंडता के लिए और शांति के लिए और हमारे जो है सेक्युलर जो है पैटर्न के लिए बहुत नुकसानदेह है, बहुत निंदनीय है।
Meanwhile, a full bench of the Jammu and Kashmir High Court has set aside an earlier order on enforcing legal bar on bovine slaughter and beef sale. Passing the order, the court said it was an issue for the state government and legislature to consider. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, going back to that developing story about the man who's been lynched in Himachal Pradesh for allegedly smuggling cattle. In fact, we have with us on the phone line the SP of Sirmaur, Soumya Sambasivan, joins us. Thank you very much for speaking to us. If you could just give us the details of the case as to what has happened and what's the situation as of now.
The situation as of now is peaceful, and there is no law and order situation that has occurred here, though we are ready to counter any of it. It doesn't look that there is a communal angle or a political angle to it, as of now in the investigation. These people who were arrested under the Cow Slaughter Act and also Cruelty Against Animals Act and also under 429 of IPC, 4 of them, they are from Saharanpur, who were cattle smugglers. And there are cases registered against them in Saharanpur also, as I cross-checked with them. So this news that they were cattle smugglers is true, and 4 of them were arrested, and it was true that it was the villagers who informed us, and they were the ones who told that somebody had beaten them up, and they were taking the cattle away to be sold or slaughtered. And so we have got all the cattle treated because they were in a very bad condition, bleeding, their intestines were coming out. So as of now, the law and order situation is peaceful, and this person who died, the postmortem report, I'm yet to get the complete report, but his vital organs, there are no injuries found. It's only external injuries. It is yet to be confirmed how he succumbed to these injuries.
So, of course, the investigations would move on from here. Soumya Sambasivan, thank you very much for coming in and helping us get a latest update as far as the situation in Sirmaur, which seems to be under control right now. Thanks so much for that. Some international news now, and the European Union backed Turkey's action plan to control the spiraling migrant crisis. It has agreed to a few demands from Turkey to speed up visa liberalization talks as well as to renew talks over Ankara joining the EU. Meanwhile, an Afghan immigrant was shot dead by a Bulgarian after he entered the country from Turkey.
First of all, allow me to express cautious optimism. And I have to underline, of course, the word cautious. We welcome the agreement of an EU-Turkey joint action plan to tackle the current migratory crisis.
After 2 days of negotiations, the 28-member European Union agreeing to a joint action plan with Turkey to check the flow of migrants into Europe.
We have agreed with our Turkish partners that the visa liberalization process will be accelerated. This does not mean that we would step away from the basic criteria, which are the rules in that domain. So there will be no other criteria for Turkey, and we'll assess progress made in spring 2016.
Other agreements in the deal include reviving talks over Turkey joining the EU, as well as a €3 billion aid to Turkey. European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said talks over the aid will continue with Turkey over the coming days. German Chancellor Angela Merkel will travel to Turkey during the weekend for further talks. Turkey is hosting nearly 2 million migrants, most of them fleeing the Syrian war. It has also called for an international safe zone for refugees inside northern Syria. However, EU dismissed it because of the Russian involvement in Syria.
Der EU-Haushalt kann das nicht. Wir haben heute Abend darüber gesprochen, was die Mitgliedstaaten leisten können. Aber da brauchen wir noch klarere Angaben. Aber im Grundsatz war die Meinung weit verbreitet, dass es ein guter Grund ist, Flüchtlinge näher ihrer Heimat zu beherbergen.
Hungary says it will close its border with Croatia if it helps to stem the migrant influx. But they have called for the restoration of Schengen area, where there is no need for a passport or visa. It functions as a single country for international travel purposes with a common visa policy. Meanwhile, the situation continues to be tense on the ground after an Afghan refugee was shot dead by the Bulgarian border police. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's the news tonight. Good night.